got a critical oversight role over City Hall, over the mayor, whoever the next mayor is, over public officialdom. If a public official used their office equipment to engage in the kind of pastime that Anthony Weiner's been involved in the last couple of years, would you fire them?
I think the answer is yes. I mean, we have had a number of instances over the years where, inevitably, of course, municipal employees, state employees have used computers and the like for improper purposes, and there's an appropriate sanction for that, and there should be. This is, you know, having said that, that isn't the most important role of the New York City Controller, but I think you're making a point that has played out in the papers most often recently, or a year or so over the years.
And that would include the mayor, of course, like any other city official. Okay,
right.
You know, I wanted to take 10 minutes to get to that. You've got to it so fast I don't have a real plan here anymore. You've answered the question. Let me ask you, a lot of people are concerned. I think, let's talk about, let's say Bloomberg, the mayor, and a very popular mayor in many regards. I mean, consider most city mayors after a couple terms, 3 terms, he's still doing pretty well. He had this to say about you. Just condemning any one industry is not a smart thing to do. If there's something wrong on Wall Street, it's not the comptroller's job to investigate that. The comptroller's job is to make sure that all the contracts are given out fairly, and that they are given out to suppliers to the city who are honest. That's the job, and that's where we really need the next comptroller to focus on. So he's saying, stick to your lane, stay in your lane, focus on the City Hall. Don't be going off as the crusader against Wall Street. Your response, sir? Well,
my response is, look, there are many different facets to the controller's job, and I've articulated. The one is doing policy audits. The other is more traditional audits. But policy audits, critically important to make sure that if we spend billions of dollars in a program, we are getting the policy return we should. That has been an underutilized aspect of it. A piece of it is overseeing the city budget, which is somehow nuts and bolts and is understood that way. A third piece is overseeing the pensions, and what comes with that is some oversight over the ownership capacity through shareholder proxies to mold corporate governance. We have had violations in corporate governance and on Wall Street to a great extent, Chris, because of a failure to exercise the obligations of ownership. As I've said, you cannot regulate or prosecute your way to good judgment in the corporate boardroom. It's owners who have a responsibility to stand up. That's what Warren Buffett does. That's what shareholders are supposed to do. And pension owners, and I wrote about this in the book that I just wrote that came out. I want to plug the book, but I do want to, but I won't. It is the obligation of owners to oversee and participate, and to a certain extent, the violations we've seen in the corporate boardroom are because shareholders have been too passive. So we want to encourage shareholders.
You can earn your way back with a lot of people right now with the advice you give them right now. A very wealthy friend of mine, a double billionaire, told me, the only one I know, maybe I know a couple, but one told me this. He said, the money's already taken out of the stock market before the average guy or woman puts a buck in. You put money into your 401k, you invest in equity in the stock market. The reason you don't get rich in the stock market is because all the wealth has been taken up by the people that know what's going on inside. Legal or illegal or gray market inside trading. They know it all. They grabbed all the loot. Is that basically true? Is the New York Stock Exchange on the level, sir? Is it on the level for the average person to invest?
No, it is not, and I think we're seeing that in the numerous insider trading cases that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Preet Bharara, is making, and we are seeing it because the fees that are improperly taken out by the mutual funds, this was an enormous area that I investigated when I was Attorney General, fees that were disproportionate to the return the investors got. Jack Bogle, one of the superstars, an honorable, very good guy, created the I don't want to plug one mutual fund, created the Vanguard funds, and the principle, fees should be very, very low, because in the long run you won't outperform the market, and when the mutual funds charge you excessive fees pretending they will, you're giving away all the upside, and over the long term the investor, are the loser.
So the market's not on the level.
That is correct. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't still do well over a 20-year time horizon, but are there advantages that exist that are where certain individuals who have access to information trade ahead of you? Absolutely. The high-speed trading? Absolutely.
So one of the double billionaires floating around there is Mike Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, who believes that that's what you're going to focus on. You get in there, you're not going to sit around City Hall sniffing around who misused their computers. You're going for big game, because big game is where you're going to bring your career back.
No, what I'm going to do is to do the controller's job, which, as I just said, has many different facets to it. One piece of it is using and overseeing the pension funds and making sure that those pension funds are used properly as owners of the many companies in which you invest. Now, having said that, Mike and I worked together very well. When I was Attorney General, he was the mayor. I was governor. He was the mayor.
But he's warning about you.
Well, what he's saying, look, where we disagreed was about Wall Street. And I would say this. I would think that if the historical record is the one that I've been watching, what I was saying from 2000 until 2008 about structural problems, not just individual cases, but structural problems. I was talking about subprime debt, about analysts who were lying to the public, an insurance industry that was rigged. And I was saying to people, look, these are structural issues that can lead to a cataclysm if we're not careful. And I think we suffered through it. Let's learn the lesson. The market and the capital markets are hugely important to us. They raise money, allocate capital, but if they are not monitored properly, if there are flaws in them, then we will go through once again what we suffered through in 2008. We don't want that. So
okay, let me get you a tough question. I'm being asked by my executive producer to ask the question. I probably should have asked, but I go in my own directions usually on things like this because I'm fascinated with you because you know so much more about New York markets and equities and things. If you had to vote for mayor right now, who would you vote for?
I would vote, but Chris, look, it's a great question.
Come on, answer the question.
You know, look,
show
you know
I can't. Show you're
Chris,
different than most politicians. Just say you're going to vote for Quinn, or you're going to vote for whoever.
No, I'm not saying whoever.
You're not going to vote for. You're not going to vote for Anthony Weiner. Can you just say that now? You don't think he should be mayor of New York?
Fair point. That is correct.
He should not be mayor of New York.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it's Spitzer. You made some news here. A couple points of news. Anyway, up next, thanks for coming. Good luck in the race.